Namo Buddhaya. There's so much good Dharma available on YouTube if you look carefully. I have been watching Dharma on YouTube, I think, right more or less from my first beginning to consider becoming a monk. The date on this channel, if you look, it's not the date that this channel started, it's the date that I first subscribed to, or whatever you do to watch YouTube, opened an account, whatever it is, with my original old email address, and that date is May 2014. So I've been watching Dharma on YouTube, among other things, admittedly, occasionally, for nearly 10 years. And I'm not going to quote the particular channels which are my favourites, and I'll explain why in a moment. And I just noticed that date anyway the other day when I was reviewing my description of this channel, and I thought, what's that date? Where did that come from? And then I worked it out. It's a very useful resource, but like everything on the internet, and I don't use any other social media or watch Dharma, listen to Dharma from other sources. Prior to YouTube, I used whatever the podcast thing that comes with Apple devices was in those days. I first started to learn meditation from a meditation teacher who was producing podcasts with guided meditation and, I'd say, Dharma talks, but he was a secular Buddhist teacher. No, secular meditation teacher. And also, I think, later in life, psychologist, and formerly a Buddhist monk in this Thai Forest tradition. But I didn't know that at the time, and he never mentioned that. I found this out much later on, and it so happened he had been and went and was a monk at the same monasteries as myself many years later. But that's by the by. That then led to me finding some Dharma on YouTube, and probably by accident at the time. I think back then I would have been looking at music videos or something like this, because this was before I'd renounced entertainment. But monks don't use entertainment, so I'm quite restrictive over what content I watch on YouTube. And one good thing about YouTube is it kind of works that out and knows that, and only gives you stuff you're interested in. Well, if you allow it to, I think. That's how it works for me. I never get pop videos coming up on there. I only get Dharma talks and monastic Buddhist stuff and other related things. This is, for me, a very useful resource to be able to listen to Dharma from other monastics who I have met and who I know, some of whom's monasteries I've been to, and it keeps your listening to Dharma in this tradition is also a form of meditation. So it certainly does no harm whatsoever for an hour or a couple of hours a day to listen to good quality Dharma talks from fellow monastics, all of whom are considerably more senior than myself. So when I first started to make these videos, I set out to do something different, because there's already, as one commenter, person who watched these videos made the point, there's far too many monks already on YouTube, we don't need another one, was his comment. And I quite agreed. Well, yes, you have to be very selective. And once the YouTube algorithm or whatever it is learns your tastes, it will identify that and direct useful content to you. I think it's quite clever like that, and it's why it's my preferred medium for this. And also I've never tried anything else. Now, what was the point of what I was going to talk about today? The point being, that is what I'm trying to do, just something slightly different. Why are there so many different kinds of monastics teaching the Dharma, and why is that important? Well, you will gravitate towards one direction or another. However many monks, nuns are talking about or people generally, about any subject on YouTube, about that subject, there will be one you prefer. There will be a relationship built on what resonates with you from them, as opposed to some people just get your back up and you would not want to watch them again unless you get some kind of weird thing of watching someone that annoys you, if you can understand. So you see, it's quite important that there is such a number and such of a variety, because if you think about it, the audience, the lay people or anyone, whatever the subject matter, is even more infinitely varied than ever the number of people talking about the subject can be. So let's say someone is just talking about mechanics, motor mechanics, and how to fix engines and such like. Well, there's probably millions and millions of different kinds of people who want to learn about that kind of thing, and also a huge number of different kinds of people who can talk and teach about that kind of thing. But they won't all get on with each other. So you need a variety to satisfy the need. And for myself, I've found a variety also even in my selection of channels that I watch. So this is why I don't suggest looking at what channels I watch and listening to those, and I don't have them listed on my channel underneath as being the ones that I personally subscribe to, because it could send you off in the wrong direction. Naturally, organically, you'll find your level. You'll listen to talks. If they don't gel, if they don't quite work, give it a little try, but then try something else. And this is the way it works. And it's similar when you go first to a monastery to live. It might not be the right one, or you go on a meditation retreat, or you join a club. I mean, some places there may be very little choice, understandably, in which case you have to kind of adapt yourself to fit in and make the best of what you've got. The true suffering comes when there is choice. And on this medium, this YouTube, there is an abundance of choice, of course. And since I've been watching YouTube videos on Dharma specifically since that time, 2014, nearly 10 years, then there have been an increasing number, of course, because during the COVID years, we can say now, the COVID age, which was a great time for monks because nothing changed. Life became so much more monk-like everywhere. I don't mean to put anyone's back up with that statement. I mean, of course, it was a tragic time and terribly a lot of suffering going on all around. But it really was, I think, for most monastics, a time of great relief. And personally, I was actually not in the best place for the COVID. It's not like I was in a monastery hidden away. I was in the middle of in one of the the now most populated countries in the world. 1.8 billion people in India now, the same as China. And when the government there made an announcement about COVID or another lockdown or another wave or another phase, boy, did you know it? It was on the it was reaction all around. So still, however, for monastics, we understand suffering. We're used to living simple lives without going out, without entertaining ourselves. And socializing, again, is not something that's high on the agenda and really doesn't happen at all. So to that extent we were all monastics were and are well placed for such events, but hopefully able in the same vein to give good support, and they did. They have. Not myself, but the number of YouTube channels because there's other ways you can watch monks talking. I just haven't explored them myself, and nuns, I mean, as well. The number have increased during that time, and they've continued now since the COVID age to keep the material, and even established their own communities now, online communities, which are very strong, and have then gone on growing online communities, have then gone on in the UK and in America, I'm seeing, to then from them establish real life, actual monasteries in places with monks to live, or people ordained, lay people staying and getting the opportunity to ordain. And this is a wonderful thing to have come out of what was about a seemingly bad thing. And also what could have been seen as a seemingly bad thing would be, of course, using, I don't know whether you'd call this social media, but mobile phones and all of the bad associations that go with that, and there are many. They're not really a tool or a part of a monk's kit, really, and shouldn't be. But what has happened is they have become a very, I've forgotten what I was going to say, useful thing and a productive thing. But when you think about it, of course, when the Buddha first taught, they weren't writing these teachings down, not for many years, hundreds of years in fact. And then the Dharma, it was handed down by chanting or verses, Pali verses, repetitively, and learning the teachings, and then later on it was written down. And no doubt then the people might have been saying, oh, this shouldn't be written down, it should be handed down by voice, monk to monk. And similar criticisms then could have been raised towards writing the teachings down in books, as now, or what they are or were raised against putting the teachings online. Back in Ajahn Chah's time, which isn't so long ago, he was one of the pioneers and first of recording audio tapes, and they're wonderful things to hear, even though their entire language I don't understand. You hear, you understand, you get the feeling of the Dharma from those audio talks. And him with Longtar Mahaboa and monks, great arahants of those times, set that wheel in motion also of recording audio tapes, the very first, the pioneers of that kind of multimedia monasticism that it's now become. And as advancements in technology have come about, we are now looking at this. And I watch and listen to this also. And having been in India, I subscribed to what is called YouTube Premium, and I think that's quite an expensive thing, and probably prohibitive for a monk. well, anything. 1 rupee is prohibitive for a monk because we don't have money. But in India, that's something like 170 rupees per month or something like that, which is about £1.70 or just under $2 per month. And if you have this YouTube Premium, there are 2 benefits. You can, I'm not advertising YouTube, I'm explaining why it's quite good for monks. You don't get any advertising because, of course, advertising is quite inappropriate for monks. I don't think Dharma, somebody, Starship, wrote a comment in saying that apparently until a channel is monetized, there are no adverts, which is good, because that should mean there will be never any adverts on this channel, and most monastic channels don't attract sufficient subscriptions and numbers to warrant monetization, and therefore are free of adverts, if you notice. But I wouldn't know, because I have this premium thing, so I get no adverts anyway coming up anywhere. And that's well worth it to me, because they would be irrelevant, they'd be distracting, and you've got no control really over what you may be seeing, and it may be inappropriate. Which means it's safe for me to use YouTube and watch YouTube all of the time for as little as less than $2 or £1.79, I think it works out, 179 rupees per month. But now I've moved, or now I'm staying in Thailand, and I do, when I change country, it's quite difficult to do, but I got Google to help me with this. I do change my Google to the country I'm in, because it just works better, put it that way. Well, certain countries, when you're automatic, because it happens automatically, when you're in India, when your Google changes you to India, then you can't do many things that you still may need to be doing at home, and things with regards to travel and visas and different administrative aspects behind the scenes of monastic life that still have to be taken care of if you're more or less travelling alone, get a little bit tricky. So now I've changed to Thailand. I think it'll be a more expensive proposition, this subscription thing, but we'll see. But the point being, we all have access to these different mediums to watch Dharma, and it's important obviously to use those things wisely. If you're on 8 precepts, which is living in a monastery, if you're a lay person, or above, so you're a monastic, then you have no entertainment. So therefore things like I think things like Facebook and what have you don't come under the realms of entertainment, I'm not sure, but I think they should, and they should be certainly not something monastics should be involved in, because it's not necessary. And I'm sure most aren't, that all aren't that I know, apart from, putting these Dharma talks out. I know that you can use Facebook for this as well, so but I just haven't tried that. Anyway, what made me think about, what's got me onto talking about that, was that it's worthwhile, because I get some questions coming up, comments coming up, that can you make a video about this and that, and I actually already have. Now, I don't plan these, write them down, or have any indexing system or knowledge even of what videos I've made. I can't even remember what I said yesterday. I know I must have mentioned Jesus, because I've got comments about Jesus today, and that generally means that I've mentioned something about Jesus, and nothing bad. It's just that usually gets quite a response. So I won't look back at the video, it'll come to me. I'm sure it was just a question about have I read the Old Testament. Yes, anyway, I must have, and I put it in the title, because I usually include in the title what the questions were based around. Anyway, if you go back, so if there's if you have the inclination, it's worth going back in time. It's not far. It looks like there are more videos than there are, because most of them are shorts, which are just 1 minute videos. And I have now made sure that all of the videos are in playlists of relevance. So there's Dharma talks, questions and answers, monks' life, so things like, not so much of that these days, but what monks get up to in day-to-day life. I think there's even one on chanting, one on guided meditations. Not much in either of those. But anyway, they're in playlists. It's quite apparent from the front page of the channel. If you go back to the older ones, which don't go back that far because it's only been going for 5 months, so you'll generally find a lot of questions have been answered now. But that's not to say there's no need for me to repeat, because we adjust, adapt, improve, sometimes not improve. The view, the talk, as time goes on, with experience and with this practice. It's a slow developing practice, and things change slowly. So over time, you may look back at your own practice and say, wow, did I really think that way back then? I don't think that way now. And I'm sure if I went back and looked even 5 months ago at those videos, I'd look at them and be horrified. Not because so much my practice has changed, but I was in a very different environment and different set of circumstances, and maybe had a very different idea of what I was doing with this phone in front of me, talking to it. Now I have a clearer picture, because of the benefit, which I'm so grateful for, of your feedback, your emails and your comments, which gives me the understanding as to how what I'm saying is being heard. And as I said right from the beginning, even if one person's listening, I'm happy to continue doing this. Even if there are too many monks already on YouTube, because that one person wants to listen to this monk and may not need or want to listen to the others. So this is the point I made to the gentleman who made that quite accurate and understandable point. Anyway, that was a long time ago, and subsequently I've carried on doing this because it doesn't take very long at all. And I'm about to now wrap up this little chat, which has been a bit vague and mainly about YouTube today, because this is the medium that we're on. The point I wanted to make was that do look back through the old videos if you get the opportunity. Also, in answer to the question that came yesterday about some shorter videos, I think there are quite a few shorter ones as you go back in time. Because I don't mean the very short shorts, they're under a section called shorts, and they speak for themselves. But there are shorter videos as you go back towards the beginning, and they are perhaps good little ones you can. That's the other thing with this YouTube Premium, you can download the videos and then even turn your phone off and put it in your pocket, or if you had pockets, we don't really have them, but and have your earphones on and just listen, which if you've not got this YouTube Premium, I think you to turn the phone off, then it goes off also, so you can use them like a podcast. So if you have that, it's a good thing. You can listen to Dharma from all kinds of, because you see, you're not watching these videos. You don't need to be, there's no action going on. It's perhaps nice to have this sort of relationship, but really it's more a case of sitting, listening and absorbing. In fact, mostly in the Thai tradition, certainly, I'm not sure where it originates from, they have these screen-like masks, like those masks that you used to have on sticks but it's like a fan. And the monastics, when they're giving the refuge in the triple gem and the precepts, they often usually put these in front of them. So you are not looking at the face of the monk talking, because this could be distracting. You might either really like the monk or really not like the monk. Well, that's not the point. You're taking refuge in the whole of the Sangha, or you're listening to the whole of the teachings of the Buddha, just being offered by one person, that person being irrelevant. But saying that, all of what I've just said is, of course, we all need to find teachers or people we like listening to in order for it to be more easily absorbed. So find your selected channels for listening to Dharma, or whatever subject matter it is, and try not to be distracted too much off course, because there is that tendency, and there's far too many to see them all. But you'll find however many you get, you'll eventually end up with a core few. Well, I have. And maybe I'm not typical of people who use these facilities, but I've pretty much got Dharma coming out of my ears, but if I was to listen to it all, but sufficient to listen to an hour or two of Dharma from very highly valued, in my opinion, monastics each and every day. And it's also questions and answers, and also some of you people come up on those, which is fun to hear. The same names, but yeah, so that's all I wanted to say today, really. I'm going to make, or let's say remake, some shorts about little meditation tidbits. Is that the right expression? Tip. Okay, how to say that, really? Tidbits. Short. I'll leave you with one, for example. If you go back through the old videos, there are there's quite a few of them actually, but there's 6 main ones, and let me find one to read you. So if it looks like I'm reading, it's because I am going to be reading. This is one of my favourites, and I'm going to read it to you, so excuse me reading. But as I wrote it myself, I don't think that's so bad. As I wrote it myself, I put the words down, I think they came from me, but of course they've come from external causes and conditions and influences, primarily the teachings of the Buddha. He mightn't have said this in so many words, but it's only coming out from me because of what I've heard and my interpretation. And I'll finish this shorter, I'm thinking today, talk with this, and I will start to make these as, again, a little series of shorts, because I don't think the same people who watch the shorts watch the longer videos, and vice versa. Of course, I think if you're subscribed, you possibly get them both. To be honest, from this point of view, you don't know. It's difficult to know how other people receive you. Well, let me get on and say this short thing. Okay. When there is tension in your body, notice the tension around your eyes, cheeks and jaw. Relax your face. When you relax your face, your whole body and mind will relax too. And these are little tips of things you can do during a busy day. So let me just tell you another one about that. However busy you are, stop for a moment. Feel your feet on the ground and take 3 deep breaths. Breathing in, say to yourself, may I be happy, may I be well. And breathing out, say, may all beings be happy, may all beings be well. Now both these two tips take less than a minute out of your day, but will make a tremendous difference to your day and most probably save you a lot of time. I'm not reading that bit, I'm just reflecting on the point of these little sayings of mine. And they are little sayings of mine that I say to myself. So for instance, you're walking from somewhere to somewhere else, and I'll make this the last one. As you walk, say to yourself, stepping right, stepping left, stepping right, stepping left. This will bring your mind into the present moment, not where you were and not where you are going. Yes? And then it says, this will take less than a minute and you will be happy. Namo Buddhaya. So I will say Namo Buddhaya here and now. Try those 3 little tips and they will work, because I've tried it and I know quite a few other people who have also. You have to remember them though, and incorporate them into your day. It doesn't take any time, but it certainly saves you time. Alright, Namo Buddhaya.